Hello, and welcome everyone to this Meet the Candidate event for the Society of Professional Journalists. My name is Tim Igo. I am the president of the Valley of the Sun Phoenix Pro Chapter, and more important today, I am privileged to be the Nominations Committee Chair for SPJ. And it gives me great pleasure to sit down today with these people who are some of our most committed members, those who showed the leadership, vision, and willingness to run for an SPJ office. Wherever you're watching from, please give them a round of applause. Now, this is the second of two candidate events being held before the SPJ convention. Today's is focused on board candidates, both officers and at-large members. A previous candidate forum focused on the regional coordinator candidates, and you can watch that replay online on YouTube, the SPJ page, and I've placed that link in the chat now. Today we address 3 races and 8 candidates. So for efficiency, we're asking for you to place any questions you have in the Q&A box. As you can see, I'm using the chat for some useful links. I'm sorry we can't have people question the candidates one-on-one, but time constraints won't allow that. But I will remind everyone that you can contact any candidate directly. All their backgrounds and preferred methods of communication are online at the SPJ Election Central, whose link I will put in there now. I encourage you to look at their information and all the candidates' information for all the races. And one other thing, if you ever have a question for me, I'll put my email in there too. Any great things that happened today are thanks to the committee and to these terrific candidates. Anything that goes wrong is on me. So why don't we get started? I see all the candidates on the screen who are here so far. Some are still coming in because there's no perfect time for journalists on deadline. So some people I know are about to face a newscast, so that maybe they can't make it. I do see one here whose name is not on it. If you're a candidate, please unmute and let us know. Otherwise, I'll assume you're just another SPJ chapter leader here to join us. So we're going to start today's conversation with the board at-large director positions. Directors serve 2-year terms, and there are 2 openings this year. We have 4 candidates, so even if you are like me and you did not major in math, you can see that there's going to be a hard choice that members are going to have to make. Our process is this. I'll ask each candidate to introduce themselves and speak for no longer than 3 minutes about their vision, their background, their platform, whatever they'd like to say. I then will have some questions for the candidates, and who knows, they may have questions for each other. Our candidates for the at-large director position are Nicole DeCrisio, Joanna Hernandez, Chris Vaccaro, and Wesley Wright. Joanna isn't able to join us at this time, but if she comes in, she'll speak. But for right now, Nicole, could you kick us off? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to. So I currently serve as the Region 5 coordinator, and I've spent the last 7 years serving in various leadership roles and constantly seeking new ways to give back to SPJ after a few SPJ members, including the then ethics chair and a regional director, spoke up and came to my defense when I was removed as editor of my campus newspaper. I've tried to repay what SPJ has given me, not just in that situation while I was a student, but in the ways that SPJ continues to support me through the various phases of my career, including all of those early career challenges, buyouts, layoffs, freelancing, and then now as a news entrepreneur. At the start of 2023, I stopped freelancing to pursue another journalism project. That project has actually resulted in the first nonprofit local news outlet in Indiana in a small, statistically poor and characteristically rural community. And so starting the nonprofit and then the experience in grant writing that I've had in this journey to start the nonprofit has given me a deep understanding of nonprofit finances and how to work alongside various foundations, including our own. But I think it's no secret that we're at a pivotal pivotal moment for SPJ's existence. Our membership, our money, and honestly, our morale are facing significant challenges. And these items are significantly intertwined. I personally believe we need to expand our membership in a key way. I know that I have a place in SPJ because I've been a member for a decade now, and have that long relationship with this wonderful organization. But if we verified members, I wouldn't be able to join today because I earn my paycheck and pay my bills through an outside industry job. And at the end of the day, if you are joining in the fight for press freedom, actively supporting journalists, and working to preserve local journalism in an ethical and responsible way, I think that you deserve to be part of our organization. And I can't help but wonder if there are folks that look at our requirements and think, I don't belong here. And so, yeah, expanding membership helps our financial situation, but it isn't the only thing. Like I said, they're intertwined, and there has to be bold action and ideas to fix our finances that involve both short-term and long-term solutions. And one of those, and it goes to the morale, we have a lack of national programming overall as a whole, a lack of a usable membership database, and honestly, a lack of communications that have left our chapters and members begging for help. RCs are the vital connectors between the national organization and our local members and chapters. And part of what prompted me to run in the first place was a lack of communication with the regional coordinators as a whole. We want to be part of the solution, and it's been difficult to not only do what I've been elected to do, but also demoralizing to have a front row seat to that. Somehow our culture has made it where our partners with the foundation, our regional coordinators, and sometimes even our members have been made out to be the enemy. It's not us against each other, it's us against the problem. And so not only do we need bold ideas, we need leaders who can work well with the foundation and partner organizations. We need programming to draw new members and keep the ones we have. We need leaders who can unite SPJ and focus us back to our mission and values. Sometimes you don't have to do more, you have to do less very well. And we need leaders who want to not only honor our tradition and history, but can also ask if what we're doing is tradition or just the way that things have always been done. I think that one of the most powerful things that our organization and its members can do is speak out against attacks on journalism and journalists. And I think that it's just as powerful when our leaders step up and speak out about issues in our organization and try to be part of the solution. And so that's why I'm speaking out and asking for the status quo to change. And I hope that our membership will see me as qualified to serve as an at-large director.
Nicole, I couldn't have asked for a better way to kick us off. Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. And then, doing things the way we've always done it. We are going to do that right now. I'm going to go alphabetically. Next up would be Chris Vaccaro. Chris, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thanks, Tim, for organizing. Just really incredible work by you and the committee to get to this point. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about all of our visions and missions and goals. And no matter who wins any of the elections races, everyone does have a place in SPJ. Everyone here obviously cares. Everyone's super passionate about growing the organization, fixing the organization, working together and collectively. So I just, I appreciate everyone in these little boxes and what everyone has to say, because it's all for the right reasons. It's all for journalism. It's all about something bigger than ourselves. And then congrats, Nicole, on the launch of the nonprofit. That's really the nonprofit news organization. That's really a lot of work. And I'm sure you have a really bright future with what you're building there. And that's a perfect example of there's a lot of great people across this country doing incredible work who are SPJ members who we need to shed light on and have them work with the rest of the chapters and members to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how you could do it and how we can all benefit from that. So just a great example of really great people that we have. I've been involved with SPJ for almost 15 years. I think it's a little short of that. I've been on the Press Club of Long Island board for that amount of time. I'm a former president of the Press Club of Long Island, especially, at very important times for me when we were able to get national exposure for that chapter and raise our profile in SPJ by being a co-national chapter of the year, by winning Circle of Excellence awards, by having many of our members speak on panels and on events. And so that was really important for me to get PCLI on the map. And you know, it was for several other leaders that we had, but I felt like we've had a really good run over the last decade or so. And it's carried on with people like Scott Britton and Brendan O'Reilly, the presidents after me. And then, you know, the last handful of years, I've been the Region 1 coordinator, working directly with our regional chapter leaders on campuses and at the professional level. And it's a passion project. You know, we're doing a lot of great things. I try to shed light amongst the region about what all the chapters are doing, what all the leaders are doing, what the schools are doing, try to, you know, launch new chapters at universities. And we also built a high school journalism institute in Region 1, where Northeast high school kids are able to go and learn from other pro members about SPJ, but also about the industry and about storytelling. And we've done that now for 2 straight summers, and we're about to lock up a location for our 3rd summer in 2024. And it's all in the name of SPJ. It's all in the name of trying to grow the next generation of journalists. And of course, SPJ members, and build this feeder system of youth that understand who we are and what we're about. And the core of that is programming. The core of that is education. And it's really utilizing our bigger name, our organization that has this historic name, to say, hey, this is who you can be. This is how to tell a story. This is how to do it in a just, ethical, and proper way with multi-platform storytelling skills. We do all of that in just 3 days, and it's really cool to see the experiences and the light on their faces as they, you know, unlock different things they didn't know about the industry. So I think we could do that more. I think we do that in every region. I think we could do that on a national level, not just for high school kids, but for people looking for that ability to learn and grow with us. And of course, SPJ is broken. It has a lot of fixing that is needed. There's a lot of tough decisions to make, especially with the budget, and that obviously impacts people. Membership is a part of that. The membership database is a part of that. As one individual person, I can't fix all of that, but I'd like to be a strong voice in that process. I would like to be a force that brings people together to make it happen in a way that hasn't happened yet. Obviously, we keep talking about similar problems over the last handful of years. You know, I think with the candidates that we have this year and all the positions, we can take another bigger and massive needed step forward. And I look forward to being a part of that process, to being a part of the solution. And no matter what, you know, we'll continue to be a part of SPJ and make sure that we're all doing the right things in our region over here in the Northeast. So appreciate the opportunity to talk. Appreciate the opportunity to mingle with the other candidates, and looking forward to everybody else has to say. And yeah, thanks, Jim.
Chris, thank you so much. You know, this is a candidate forum, but my secret project is really, I sit here and I take notes, and I'm just always enjoy stealing ideas, great ideas from around the country, and for our own chapter in our own region. So this candidate thing is a side thing for me. So anyway, next up, Wesley Wright. Wesley, welcome. I'm so glad to see you here.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. My name is Wesley Wright. I am Vice President of the SPJ Florida chapter. Prior to that, I was on the SPJ Florida board, and my day job is as a journalism advisor down here at Florida Atlantic University. That's in Boca Raton, about an hour north of Miami. So my interest in running for a national board seat is because, you know, I've been blessed to work with a really cool chapter in Florida that does a lot of interesting programming and things outside the box. And a lot of the ideas that we have, I believe, are applicable on some level nationally. So one thing that SPJ does for me is they help support a program I've run for the last couple of years called the Renews Project, where we go to HBCUs and HSIs around the country and rejuvenate their student media. Speaking of students, right, I work with students day in, day out at my university, my alma mater, and they do not know what SPJ does for the most part. They may know it exists, or they may know that I'm beating the same drum I do every week or every semester, but they can't see, you know, why should I join SPJ? What can they do for me? A lot of those things can be more public. And one thing to consider is we do know that SPJ has some budget issues, and one thing to think about outside of membership is other revenue streams, right? You can only take on so much water in the boat before it capsizes. And one issue that I thought might be appropriate for SPJ, given our tie to the First Amendment, is in college athletics, right? A lot of times reporters who don't cover sports might just say, well, it's a sports issue, you know, whatever, but SPJ has a unique opportunity to be on the forefront to fight for First Amendment rights as they pertain to college athletes. Right? In a lot of cities with universities and colleges around the country, a football program or a basketball program is so important to the local economy or the state economy, for example, that we don't really have the opportunity to let good journalism go. Right? These are students that we work with, and even if they're not, even if we see them as athletes, they're students too. That is a journalism issue. If universities or colleges want to get in the way of what journalists want to do or want to report on a given campus, I would argue SPJ is uniquely positioned to talk about something like that. And to that same end, these universities and colleges, many times, their student athletes and their staff need media training. It's another possible revenue stream done correctly or done well, I would say. So I enjoy the opportunity to kind of talk about those things. I see a lot of opportunity in kind of expanding our organization's mission. I understand there might be some pushback to doing that, but to some extent, you have to do what you have to do given the circumstances. There isn't really a way to run SPJ the way it's been going nationally without having all this debt. At some point, you won't have a big enough shovel to dig your way out. So I'm grateful to talk about those things and grateful to talk about my tie to SPJ and what I might see in the future. And again, I appreciate the opportunity.
Wesley, wonderful. Thank you so much. You raised some things that we don't hear talked about too much in SPJ, so that's very helpful. The fourth candidate for the at-large director position, Joanne Hernandez, apparently is not able to join us. So I've beat this drum before, but I really do encourage everyone to go to the Election Central page to read all about the candidates and see what they've said about their position, their vision, their platform. So if it's all right with everyone, it's just 23 minutes into this. I have a couple of questions for the at-large candidates, and I guess one is there's so many possibilities, but if an SPJ member were to ask you to name the one challenge that's most vital for SPJ to address in 2024 effectively, if you had to pick one, what would you say that is? Anybody can begin. Chris.
I don't mind going first. Listen, the budget is the biggest unknown, or even the facts that we do know, which obviously there'll be a lot more to hear tomorrow during that budget meeting. Until that stabilizes, until that is something that may be out of the red and more in a place where we feel good about where we're headed, the rest of it is very difficult to achieve. So it's the biggest challenge for this current board wrapping up and the new board gonna take their place at the throne. You can't really fix that membership system. You could maybe have some programming changes. Obviously, none of that has to cost terribly much money. But even the programming change, like I love the educational aspect of what Wesley Wright was talking about with college athletics. There may be costs to marketing that and getting that out there and building a business plan. Can't do all those things unless the budget gets fixed. And honestly, it's the last thing we all want to talk about because it's money and it's finance and it's business operations and it's not advocacy and journalism and education and professional development. But unfortunately, I don't think you get all those other things achieved until you figure out how to unlock that box. And that's where the tough decision making comes in. That's where you can't achieve a budget that everyone feels comfortable with unless you work together to do it with a board that gets along and figures it out. And even if they don't get along, they need to work well together to make it happen. So I'd like that to be a priority to get that. I don't want to say out of the way, but there needs to be a ton of groundwork to figure that out before the rest all gets achieved.
Get that. Thank you, Chris. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that Chris is exactly right, because the rest of it does all follow the budget. But there's a lot of factors and a lot of things that impact a budget. There's completely free things that we can do to address and make SPJ feel a lot less disjointed. I think that perhaps the first step is communication, because without communication, we can't involve good ideas from our members. We can't find a way out of this financial mess, and we can't find a way to articulate why you should be a member. And that's something that we've completely struggled with, as long as I've been a member. And so and that, you know, again, like, it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take us against the problem and not us against each other.
Okay, Nicole, I appreciate that. Wesley, let me turn to you and ask the same question. You know, at-large directors, all of us, we only have so many hours in a day. If you were urging us to start and focus on something in 2024, what would it be?
Yeah, to Nicole's point, it would be membership too. My understanding is that the whatever database that SPJ uses is not reliable, right? So I know members in other parts of the country that they don't get an email about renewing their membership. So they're not out per se, but there's no way to track them, I guess, reliably, which is a problem, right? To Chris's point, we're looking at a budget that there could be revenue out there that we should be getting from members who should renew, but we're not, because there isn't really one reliable way to track that. So when we look at our budget, some of it might be that there are people who should be giving money, or there should be opportunities, maybe revenue opportunities that we're missing out on that we don't have. So I would say it's probably membership, and then outside of that, I would think about what are the other ways we can bring money in that maybe SPJ did before and maybe may have stopped under a different board, or maybe that we haven't touched. And I'm willing to speak with any of the candidates here or any member about that if they see fit.
I appreciate that very much. So I am looking at the clock, and you know, I could have like 40 other questions for you, but I'm going to have to end it there. And thank you so much. And we're going to move on to the next candidate. Again, please, everyone, go to Election Central. Every one of these candidates spent a good amount of time setting out what they believe. Their materials there. Any links they provided is there. I know there are some campaign platforms out there. We'd link directly to that. Some of you have a campaign video. Watch it, learn, and reach out to the candidates if you have questions. So thank you all. I'm going to move now to the candidates for the Secretary Treasurer position. And they are Daniela Ibarra and Michael Koretsky. Unfortunately, today's event conflicts directly with the run-up to and launch of Daniela's daily newscast, so she was not able to attend. Please go look at her information. So Michael Koretsky, welcome. Appreciate your image on the screen. It's fantastic. Please kick us off with this conversation about the Secretary Treasurer position.
Okay. I believe SPJ won't survive unless it expands or it focuses. I've been saying that for years. In 2019, I told it to the delegates, and you can watch it on YouTube. I said SPJ had 5 years before it ran out of money. I was wrong. It was 4. Tomorrow, SPJ's Finance Committee will announce our annual deficit has ballooned from $290,000 to almost $400,000. I'm running for Secretary Treasurer because I believe there are only 2 ways to fix that. We can expand like ACES did. The American Copy Editing Society was down to 900 members and almost out of business when it opened its membership to anyone who wanted to write and edit better. Today, ACES has more members than SPJ does. Meanwhile, RTDNA was on its last legs when it decided to narrow its focus from everything TV news to mostly serving station management. A few months ago, I met up with RTDNA's executive director, Tara Puckey, who's also SPJ's former associate executive director. We were in San Fran for a college media convention, and she told me how well RTDNA is doing and how profitable it is. If you vote for me, I'm going to ask the membership which they want to do, expand or focus. If you don't want to do either of those things, I honestly think you should vote for Daniela. It doesn't matter that I started and sold a magazine at the Tribune Company. I've managed $1 million budget. My experience, Daniela's experience, none of that will matter. Experience alone can't fix a $400,000 deficit. I've spent a decade on this board already, so I'm not running for any other reason than to save SPJ by reinventing it. If you don't like what I'm proposing, then this is what elections are for. When I said in 2019 that SPJ was going broke, some SPJ leaders called me negative, hyperbolic, and melodramatic. If you believe that now, your choice is clear. If you believe we need to work harder, smarter, more openly, and more strategically, vote for me. I'll make one last prediction. If we don't expand and we don't focus, all of us here today will outlive SPJ. I hope I'm wrong. Then again, I said the same thing in 2019, and I wasn't. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm sure everybody here would have a question for you, but I'll just put one to you, which is, well, I'll ask two. What parts of SPJ's operations must the board be willing to look at hard to solve its problems?
Well, it's funny that when I ran for treasurer last year, I lost by 16 votes to Israel. And then in a meeting, he basically called me out and said that we didn't get along or whatever. And I actually support him because he said the hard thing that had to be said. And then he got sort of dismissed by the rest of the SPJ board. And he said, we need to start talking about laying off staff. And we need to do that not because it's a heartless thing to do, which he got accused of, I think, unfairly, because we need to telegraph to the staff that this is coming so it doesn't become a surprise later. So one thing that's going to happen is you cannot keep a staff that was built for 10,000 members, for 8,000 members, for 6,000 members when your membership is 4,000 and declining. So that's number one. Of course, you can't cut your way to profitability. Newspapers have learned that. So part of it is we're going to have to retrench. And I'm not proposing, by the way, I'm not smart enough to propose anything new. We're just going to plagiarize what either ACEs have done or RTDNA has done. And I don't think that decision's up to me or even the rest of the board. I think we have to talk to the membership about it. I think the most egregious thing that's happened so far is that SPJ has not told its members that it is facing a $400,000 deficit.
I appreciate that, Michael. And that leads me to a second question. It probably fascinates nobody that I have no questions about the secretary role, but all about the treasurer role. So as treasurer, how transparent can and should the person in that position be about sharing financial information with any member who asks? And what processes would you commit to right now if you were elected?
That's also come up before in my 10 years on the board. The president of SPJ in the past years, going back all 10 years, has often believed that they can keep board members from saying things. I think it requires a board vote to say that. But I think it's in the best interest of the board to tell its membership what's going on. I understand the reasons for not doing that, which is we don't want to freak out our members. We don't want to, hurt morale any more than it is. But I think we're journalists. I think we're used to working under difficult circumstances. And I think if we're honest with our membership and we tell them what's going on and we ask for their input and we give them options and we ask for their advice, that actually makes them stronger members, not weaker members. If we ask them, what do you want to do? Here are two paths forward. And by the way, if there are more than the RTDNA path or the ACEs path, or there's a third way, I'm all for it. I'm totally agnostic on that. I just haven't heard it. But if we ask our members, look, the current model is not working, we have to change it, giving them that choice, I think makes them more loyal to the organization and less angry that eventually they're going to find this out. And then they're going to be mad that they won't told sooner. That's how all journalists are, right? We hate to not be told until the last minute.
Michael, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your straightforward answers. And
Thank you.
At this point, we'll turn to the vice presidential candidates. And they are Emily Block and Nicole Prano. Emily, I am so glad you're able to come in. I don't know if technologically I have prevented you from starting your video, or if you are in a place you can't start it, just let me know what you'd like to do.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm coming right out of a doctor's appointment, so I am not camera ready, but I hope y'all can hear me okay, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, welcome. And so I've just asked people to spend maybe up to 3 minutes talking about themselves, their platform, their vision, whatever you like to talk about for a couple minutes.
Sure, no, I appreciate it. I've been a member of SPJ since I was in college. I joined as a student member and I worked my way up the ranks. And a big part of my platform is that I learned more and did more in SPJ as a student and with my local chapter than I have nationally, despite my time as a board member for several years. I feel like it shows a pain point in our organization. And what I mean by that is that we have so many independent chapters, pro chapters that are doing phenomenal programming, but we haven't found a way or a through line to connect it all. And I think in a lot of ways, this goes back to what Michael Koretsky was talking about, what Nicole was talking about, what Wesley was talking about, that SPJ has a bit of an identity crisis. We have this opportunity to meet young reporters where they are, to meet student journalists where they are, to join young journalists that are unionizing their newsrooms for the first times on the picket lines. But we, for too long as an organization, in my opinion, have been scared to actually draw lines in the sand. So my goal and my hope is that we can actually commit to a strong vision, that we can fight in solidarity with these news unions that are forming, that we can put our money where our mouth is when it comes to programming and promoting programming, that we can make statements when news is timely and things are happening to our peers, and that we can make sure that we represent newsrooms as a whole, because the Society of Professional Journalists means digital producers, means social media managers, means photojournalists. And right now, too often people ask me, what does SPJ even do? Who are they? And why is it for a bunch of old people? And I'm really tired of hearing that. So that's all I have to say.
Well, Emily, the last part just hit me right here. So anyway, I appreciate that so much. Thank you for your leadership and your commitment at the chapter, regional, and national level. So, and now I'll turn to Nicole Prano. Nicole, you know, we haven't met before in person, but you have held this role before as a chair of the nominations committee, so you know exactly everything I do and then some. So welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your vision for SPJ.
That's right, Tim. I was right where you were sitting last year, so I know this forum well. I have also been the chair of the Awards and Honors Committee for the last year, which has been such a blessing to get to read so much incredible work and watch incredible work and listen to incredible work, podcasts, videos, stories. It's been an incredible year to get to be a part of that. And I'm really excited. I think coming up around conference time, we're going to put out information about some of the changes that we've made to categories and things like that. So that's the most, I think, exciting part of this year after announcing the winners, of course. So in addition to my awards and honors and nominations committee work, I have also been the president of SPJ Georgia for the last 2 years and vice president before that. I have been very involved in my local chapter because somebody pulled me in one day and said, hey, come join us. We do good stuff. And I said, okay, and started figuring out how to develop programming and that kind of thing, all in the middle of COVID. So it was quite an experience to jump in that time frame. I knew what SPJ was in college and did some work with the student group, but really didn't know much about it until I was a pro and somebody else said to me, you need to be a part of this because we do great professional development work for young professionals. And that's kind of SPJ Georgia's thing for the last few years. We also have been a big advocate for our freelance community, and we really support them in Georgia and across the nation. So I am ecstatic to be here with you all today and talk about some of these ideas and hear from everybody else. So thank you very much. My vision for SPJ is to see us grow. Everybody's talked about it. We know what the challenges are. And I would like to see us continue to make steps to grow our membership, turn our finances around, and grow in our development as an organization. I think that communication is key, and that means developing that connection between national leaders, regional coordinators, and local chapter presidents and local chapter leaders. So that way there is that through line of connection and communication that can really help develop each chapter individually as well as the national organization. I think that communication is that driving force that is going to make a difference in the organization going forward. I think turning our finances around is completely possible, no matter the bleak outlook or the sound of it. I think we can develop those new revenue streams, find better ways to fundraise, and turn things around from where they're at, as well as make the difficult cuts that we might need to make. So I don't think, that this is going to be an impossible task, but it's going to take a board who wants to work together. And at the end of the day, if I am elected, I do just want to look at everybody on the screen or in person and say, how do we get this done? Because we all want the organization to grow and move forward. And then on top of that, that means growing our members and growing our membership and helping them develop as journalists. That professional development is what SPJ is all about. It is what each of the local chapters do so well. And I think, just like I think we've heard everybody talk about here at this point, taking those great ideas from around the country and expanding them to different areas is really what's going to be key to helping the organization get its feet off the ground on a national level and really show what can we provide for people. I think one of the key ways that we can do that too is looking at the newsroom membership that we have as an option and telling newsroom managers, hey, this is what SPJ can provide for you on a newsroom level and the professional development that we can bring into your staff. Whether that's working with local chapters in those areas to bring that development in, or whether that's the national organization itself helping make those developments and connections. I think there's a lot of things that we could do to be better advocates for journalists across the board. We can speak out more on issues and to do things like get studies commissioned and partner with other journalism organizations to study things like diversity, pay equity, safety. There's lots of things that we could do to continue our advocacy efforts on top of all those other things that we want to grow. So that is some of my vision for SPJ.
Nicole, that's wonderful. Great way to play us out. I appreciate that. So I have a couple questions for both of you. We could have all afternoon to talk with all of you, but let me just throw one out here, which is what qualities and capacities must SPJ grow in order to be a leading voice for journalists nationwide? Where do we begin that process of ensuring, if that's the goal, what do we need to grow to make sure people have heard of us, know that we speak for journalists?
I think,
Emily, yeah,
if
please.
I may, thank you. If I may, I think obviously that starts at membership. Anyone would answer that way. But what that comes with is our ability to be transparent with our members when things are happening. Part of that goes back to this budget deficit that we've been talking about this whole time. To the point earlier, our general members probably have no idea that's happening unless they talk to a regional coordinator often or a board member often, or are coming to financial committee meetings on their own accord. I think that there are too many barriers in place to make it easy for people to know what's going on a general level. When I was a state chapter leader for Florida Pro, we made sure that we had a regular newsletter going out. And I feel like there are things that pro chapters and student chapters are doing in silos that hopefully national can help streamline better. So maybe that is sharing our newsletter services. Maybe that is helping to templatize things on Canva and figuring out how to streamline processes that get bogged down because these are all volunteer boards. But I think all of that goes back to transparency and communication. If our members don't know there's a budget deficit and then they find out when it is really bad, they're all going to ask, why did it take so long for us to say something? And that same frustration echoes to when it is a member of the media that is getting sued, or there's a news organization that is facing a tough time, like Vegas right now, or like the Review, the Marion County Review earlier. We have to be quick with our reaction times. And again, we're all volunteers and that's difficult, I realize, and I empathize, but I think there has to be better streamlining and crisis control talked about ahead of time instead of just after the fact or right in the moment, so that we are able to communicate and grow our members and grow that trust. Just like building a newsroom, I'm a journalist, I'm a reporter, lifelong reporter, and I'm at the Philadelphia Inquirer now. But just like we look at our news audiences and want to build trust and go out in the community and table and talk to communities, not just when something bad happens, I think SPJ has to do the same thing and follow suit. We have to work on our transparency and communication thoughtfully and regularly, instead of just when the really good and the really bad things are happening.
Thank you, Emily. Nicole Prano. So what would you say to that? What muscle groups does SPJ need to beef up to meet our mission of being a national journalism leader?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Emily, and I think I kind of wrapped up saying some of the similar type things about growth. Is it takes all the things. Everything is interconnected, right? To grow our membership, we probably need to be talking about growing our finances. I think that's logical. To grow our finances, we're going to need to talk about how do we grow our membership, because that's our main revenue stream right now is through our members. We have convention. We need to talk about other fundraising efforts that we can do to develop that further. We need to really get into that advocacy lane a little bit more, like Emily was talking about, because I think that helps to develop that trust, and that those lines of communication all come with that, and really allow our members and others in the journalism world to see us, to know we are here, to know that we are here to work for you. And those are the things that are going to help all together all at once. You know, it's not one or the other, but everything will work in concert with one another, and that's how we'll grow.
Fantastic. So let me ask, and I'll start with you, Nicole, since you're on the screen. Given your experiences and abilities, what makes you an ideal choice to be the vice president of SPJ?
I think that my experiences as a president are one thing, and my experiences on national are one thing. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what do we see for SPJ going forward, and are we able to implement it? And I think that, yes, I can. I think that the things that I'm saying are not open or empty promises. I am very upfront and honest about I can't transform anything, but I sure would like to start. That is where I would like to see things go from here. And the things that I've talked about are what I want to lay the groundwork for and see transformation in the end. And I think that I have done things on my chapter and the national level that have shown my experience level, that have shown what I can get done. I am a go-getter. I am the type of person who puts boots on the ground and ears to the phone and wants to do it today and not wait. So, you know, if that's the kind of thing that people want, then I hope that they will vote for me. And that's why I think I'm the best choice.
Thank you, Nicole. Emily, same question. You know, you and Nicole are both very active in SPJ. You know how the sausage is made. Based on your experience and your abilities, what makes you an ideal choice?
Sure. For better or for worse, I am a person plagued by ambition. When I was VP of programs for SPJ Florida, I said, I'm going to own programs. And we had 2 programs every single month minimum. And it ended up with us being chapter of the year for programs like Muslim Media, where we broke bread with the Muslim community and taught reporters how to cover their community proper. For programs like Zombie Stories, where we taught students interview skills by having them interview zombies. For programs like our obituary writing contest, where we taught journalists how to write obituaries by bringing them to a funeral parlor and eulogizing actually alive journalists that were playing in on the fun. We were a programs chapter and we won chapter of the year for it. And then when I went on to be president, we won chapter of the year 2 more times during my terms. From there, I've worked my way up. I've been on the student chapters, and then I've worked my way to pro chapters, and now I'm on the national board. And I'm a person plagued with an editor brain. When I want to lead something and delegate something, I'm able to do it properly. I think the proof is in my past work. You'll see that with the t-shirts we have on sale right now on SPJ's website for the Marion County Journal. Those were my idea. We also placed a full page ad supporting the journal and what they are going through. And that was also my idea, excuse me, the record, but you get what I'm saying. I am a kind of person that when I have an idea, I see it through. And if I don't know the right answer to a question, then I'm going to find the person that knows it and make sure that we get it answered. I think that we have a lot, no one would be here today or on our respective boards and committees if they didn't care. We're obviously not doing it for the big bucks, but I think when it comes to track records, I have a showing that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. I think SPJ has an issue where someone that I really look up to and admire, who was a board president, told me that there are people that are leaders and there are people that need to be told tasks. And I think right now we have a lot of people that need to be told tasks but don't have enough leaders to tell them what to do, or vice versa. We have a lot of leaders and no one to help with the tasks. So I think a lot of it is finding a board and a capacity and a slate that we could trust that can harmonize all of those things to make a well-engined machine that can actually execute the ideas we want to do. And I think I'm the person for that job.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emily. And I'm committed to getting us out within the hour. So I really have one more question for the VP candidates. Nicole, if I could start with you. So the question is this, as we're all trained, I will ask, what should I have asked? Or you can answer that if you have an idea, or tell us what SPJ in your ideal vision looks like at the end of 2024. What have we fixed and what are we working on? So Nicole, if you could start us off. And I'll tell you, I am impressed with everybody here, everybody on your screen. Nobody got these questions in advance. They're just thinking on their feet. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. I think that SPJ in 2024 should be well on its way to having turned the budget around. I think that that is certainly time to start making some of these changes that we've all talked about here today. I think that that is certainly time to see our membership trend reverse and grow. And I think that all of these things that we've talked about and laid out can be in the works by 2024. I think that as far as what should you have asked, I don't think that there was much that got missed in the answers that people gave. I'll say that. But in terms of that, I will say that SPJ, every person that's here started as a member at some point, and we all got involved because of what we saw as being members. So it's really getting people in the door as members to SPJ that is going to make all the difference in the world, and letting people know that we're out here, that we exist, and being advocates for journalists is going to be a way to do that. Showing our members what the benefits are day in and day out, talking with them and communicating with them, from the national level to the regional level to the local level, and from across the country, one into the other. I think that communication and advocacy efforts that we can do are going to show people who aren't currently members, and show our members who we are when we are doing those things. And I think that our members are going to talk about that, and that's what's going to bring new members in the door at the end of the day. And so in 2024, I think that we'll be well on our way.
Well, thank you so much. Before I turn to Emily, who is your campaign director behind you?
This is Ollie.
Oh my gosh. Oh, fantastic. Ollie, good to see you. So Emily, please play us out. Same question for you. Either what I should have asked, or what's your vision of where we're going to be at the end of 2024 if things work out?
Sure. First off, hello to Ollie. Really important attendee. Please give them some belly rubs for me after this. As far as vision and big themes, I think that as much as I would love to join the crowd and be an optimist, our membership trends can't get better when our users are still shrinking. I feel like we've tried different revenue streams and it hasn't been working because SPJ still doesn't have, as much as we would all like to think it does, I don't think SPJ has an identity yet. Until SPJ has something to hang its hat on, I don't know if there is a way to properly bring on and expand our membership, or really, really pinpoint and hone in our membership. So I think that takes a much larger conversation about what is our goal and who do we want to be? Do we want to be like RTDNA? Do we want to be like ACEs? Do we want to expand or do we want to shrink? But I think we have to do it with intention instead of just kind of floating. And that also goes back to our budget discussions, because there are going to have to be really tough decisions. We are probably going to have to lay people off realistically. But again, it goes back to what our goals actually are. And until those are finite and defined among our members, I don't know how we could do anything else. So part of my slate's goal is to try and define that better. And I think until we do that, until SPJ gets out of its identity crisis, I don't know where we can move forward. I also think another thing I'd like to add is just partnerships. SPJ is thriving and at its best, and our conferences are also at their best when we have partner organizations. A movement that I pushed and a motion I made that ended up going through at a recent board meeting was that our next conference will be in tandem with the College Media Association, with CMA, like it was at the last Media Fest in DC. That was one of our most successful and well-attended conferences to date. And yes, of course, part of it is the fact that it was in DC. Well, guess what? It's going to be in DC again. So hopefully we can replicate some of that optimism by partnering with more organizations. And I think that's beyond college media. I think that looks at the News Guild. I think that looks at the Trans Training Institute. I think that looks back at, we've done Facebook partnerships before, but why aren't we doing more with Canva and with Chartbeat and with Parsley? I think we have to walk the walk, because every journalist is a digital journalist these days, regardless of what media platform they work in. We all touch the internet in some capacity. And so I think we have to really look at our identity. We have to look at our partnerships, and we have to look at who we're representing when we talk to our members.
Emily, thank you so much. We're coming up on the hour, so we are going to end there. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And thank you to our talented and generous candidates. Thank you for raising your hand to say you want to make a difference. And I know no matter what the outcome of this election will be, you will all continue to make a difference in the coming years. Remember, everyone watching, if your membership is current, you'll be able to vote for the candidates of your choice beginning September 28th. Look for an e-ballot about then in your email. Again, best of luck to all the candidates running for office. And thank you, all members, for your involvement. We hope to see many of you in Las Vegas for the annual convention. Let's stay SPJ strong. Thank you, everyone.